The topic of my PhD research was on government allocation in health sector in Pakistan and its impact on development of Pakistan. So the thesis was looking around whether it is sensible for the government of Pakistan to invest and if investment is useful for well-being of the people or not. And my thesis concluded that if government invests on the people of Pakistan for their better health, it will definitely have a positive impact on the economy. Kind of, yes, because when I went back to Pakistan, I actually started involving myself in some of the policy think tanks in Pakistan. Currently, I'm also member of government think tanks and government advisory councils where all these things are taken into account when governments make policies. And after that, not because of my thesis, but definitely part of it was also telling government of Pakistan that we have to spend more on health. And that's how government of Pakistan slowly, with the passage of time, has started to increase health allocation. So that was kind of also part of the research that I did, helped government of Pakistan and the allied ministries to decide about more allocation towards health sector in Pakistan. So it was very outstanding journey, and the bases were found at ZEF definitely. When I completed my PhD, I went to India, New Delhi, and that was the most surprising thing for a Pakistani to go to India and teach. I was there at South Asian University for a year and a half. Then after that, I came back to Pakistan in Islamabad. I joined a university. I worked there for about 4.5, 5 years. And during that, I got a chance to work with the Ministry of Commerce and Trade, where I was senior economist and advising government of Pakistan on trade and related issues. After that, I got a 1-year Fulbright Fellowship, where I spent 1 year working at Cornell University. Again, an old ZEF connection, who was my host at Cornell University in US, Professor Anna Basu, and Nancy Chow, who was visiting professors here during my PhD times at ZEF. And after that, I got another fellowship by Alexander von Humboldt Foundation at the Göttingen University, Germany. And again, the host that I had was also an affiliate of ZEF, Professor Stephen Klassen. I worked there for almost 2.5 years, and then I went back to Pakistan. So my best memory is basically the whole time of 5 years that I spent here, because I was coming from a country and a place which does not have the level of development that we always read in books. And when we came here, particularly when I came here from Pakistan, having a village background, I saw the development and its true depiction when I was traveling on local transport, when I was talking to my colleagues here, and when I was coming to my institute and see the way things are working. And that's where we learn a number of things that we normally don't see in countries where we belongs to, or for example in Pakistan, where bureaucratic procedures and other things are very slow. But here, when we learned a lot of things that were memorable for me for the rest of my life, for sure. I think there are 3 most important things. Number 1 is that the way we think development versus the way people in West think about the development, because we have very different starting point. We might be thinking very much about basics, how to improve that. And they might be thinking of how to improve the amount of luxury that they are having. So that was one of the very important learning during my PhD that I had. Because back in Pakistan, we are always talking about poverty. Here we are talking about that whether to work 5 days a week or 4 days a week. So these two things were very, very contradictory in one sense, but giving us a perspective of how development actually works in real life. So this was first thing that I learned. Second thing that I learned because of my professors like Professor Hiemenz, Professor von Braun, who worked in international organizations and policy making bodies, that when we do research, it is not an isolated thing. We basically doing research, putting our scientific effort to bring something for the people of this world or the country for which we are working. So our research is basically meant for the well-being of the people. So that was not the case when we were doing our bachelor's and master's. We were just thinking that we'll complete our degrees and get employment, and that's it. But then this connection of doing research scientifically that has an impact on real life was the second most important lesson that I learned from my PhD days here at CEF. And the third and most important thing is that you, being a scientific community person, can have an impact on policy and the life of the people through the words that you write. You have to be responsible, because if you are not responsible in writing the science that you are doing, that might have an impact that can go long lasting and have an adverse or positive impact on the well-being of the people. So that is one very important lesson, again thanks to my professors, who taught me that the writing that you do based on your scientific research is basically the thing that impact the life of the people in a long way. So these are three very important lessons that I have had with me during my PhD days and up till now. So it's almost 13 years that I'm teaching. I had teaching experience in New Delhi, India, which was my first job. Then I had some courses during my Fulbright year at Cornell to the various audiences in Cornell University, and then I have taught a course in Göttingen University. And also during this visit to Bonn, I had some interaction with PhD students here as well. And consistently I'm teaching in Pakistan. So this teaching experience that I had is that most of the student is still thinks the way we were thinking when we were in our bachelor's and master's, that research is something else and our job will be something else. That's definitely not the case. We have to think collectively that a small research scientific work that we do has a lot to do with the policy making and with the way people think and all. And that also through various channels, for example, social media, which is very, very important these days. Secondly, what I saw is that in developing countries, a lot of good students are there, but because of not having opportunities to present themselves in a nice way, they actually have certain things that they cannot do, which is not the case when I teach here in Germany or in US. So that's where I feel sometime that how to deal with that. And I think my PhD time that I have had here at ZEF gives me some idea that how you can use available scarce resources to make students active so that they can participate positively in the social role of science that they do at their bachelor's and master's. So that's where I try to inculcate in my teaching for a student so that they know that maybe we are lacking resources like countries in the West, but we have the ability so that we can do something with the given resources. So one thing that is a little different in our part of the world compared to West, and that goes back to the point that I said that we're starting from a different point versus your start is from a different point. So in our side, students are now asking explanations of the things that we normally were hesitant to do. So that's one of the very strongest role that social media or the other kind of media is actually playing in developing world, and in particular in Pakistan. So for example, recently we have, not recently but from a couple of years or maybe a decade, that we don't have student unions in university. But then students are talking a lot about students' union when they get a chance to talk with their professors, with their peers, with their higher ups and admins in the university. So these are the things which we don't see when we were a student in university. So that's precisely the role of social media that is there. Secondly, the thing that they don't like, if they are shy to talk about, they use social media to talk about that, which we normally were unable to do in times when we were students in bachelor's or master's, because we didn't have that platform. So that social media platform actually giving a big voice to students. Now the role of the civil society plus teachers like us is that we channel this voice in a positive manner rather than in a manner which create divides in the society. So that's what we try to deal with and try to do with the students that we are talking about. I wish very, very happy birthday to Center for Development Research on completing its 25 years in this year. We are celebrating this, and I wish next 25 years will definitely bring prosperity for the people who are working in not only ZEF, but for their families in countries in Africa, Latin America, and Asia, and elsewhere in the world. And I definitely wish that ZEF will be on the map of the world as a very prolific research center as well as development policy center that is known to the world for its work and scientific input for sure. And I wish ZEF very good luck for the next 25 years, and happy birthday.